The guardians of our elections is the diffusion among the county clerks, the volunteers, the secretaries of state, the people at the local level. That's why this works. It is very much alive and well, and I have a lot of optimism and faith in it. And he obviously does it, and I think it's wrong.
The problem is your candidate doesn't, though. The problem is that all of 2019 and 2020, he said that the election was suspicious and put the breadcrumbs down for January 6th to happen. The problem is he asked his supporters to come to the nation's capital, that then marched to the Capitol and injured police officers and chanted not just to kill Nancy Pelosi, but to hang his own vice president. The problem is that you do have people in your party talking about civil war. So I appreciate that you have faith, but the folks that are at the top of your ticket still do not believe the 2020 election were valid. Your candidate.
Who was a Republican.
Who was a Republican. But
when we start using these kinds of, when we start using,
I'm sorry. We're not going to both side this. We're not going to both side this.
No, I just think it's fair to say he was a registered Republican.
Yes, no, we're not going to both sides January 6th. We're not going to do it.
I know Democrats every day they wake up and thank God and relive January 6th like it's Groundhog Day.
So it wasn't a big deal?
I put it this way.
It wasn't a threat to our democracy?
There was more damage, more destruction, more deaths, and more police officers injured in the BLM riots.
We see
and
you.
Nobody went to jail.
We see
They got
you.
bailed out by Kamala Harris.
You are absolutely out of your mind if you think Democrats wake up and say, thank God for January 6th. That was the most horrifying day I can recall. I wept that day because I have some reverence for this democracy. I have some reverence for that building, the Capitol. And when people overran the Capitol, and when I saw people threatening to kill the Vice President of the United States, to kill the Speaker of the House, it was unimaginable to me. And the fact that the President of the United States directed those folks to go there and
peacefully and patriotically. Make their voices heard.
Yes, he sat there for 3 hours while this went on.
He
sat there for 3 hours and sent an email condemning his vice president while they were erecting a gallows outside that. And he knew that was going on.
And the fact that we live in, it feels like two different realities. And you described, can I finish?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The fact that we live in two different realities and you have that experience that we want it to be Groundhog's Day. And I too cried. I was working on the transition. I did not like any of the policies of Mike Pence, but I sure did not want to see the vice president or just another human killed on that day because somebody couldn't accept the results. An adult could not accept the results of an election that was fairly run. Makes us worry about what would happen this time. And so again, children are looking. History will write about this moment. Can we just all become the adults in the room, stop calling names, call a thing, and let democracy survive? But when we try and play this both sidesness, not today.
I do think what
MAGA very clearly lives in this alternate reality, separate from the one that we exist in. Because trying to make the claim, like that MAGA host, that MAGA CNN host did, that Democrats are as much of a threat to democracy as Republicans, and to try to downplay January 6th and to go as far as to say that Democrats celebrated January 6th instead of them trying to stop it, which is what actually happened, is absolutely absurd. And to allow those lies to go on the air is horrifying, and that's why I'm glad they weren't unchecked. That's why I'm glad that political strategist Ashley Allison was there to call them out in such a perfect way. Because this idea that we're trying to cover up Donald Trump and pretend that he isn't still a threat to our democracy is just so absurd to me. Do we not remember what happened on January 6th? Have we not recently heard Donald Trump say that he won't accept the results of the upcoming election? He still hasn't accepted the results of the last one. And we're trying to pretend, MAGA's trying to pretend that Donald Trump isn't a threat to our democracy. And I want to get into a clip of Rachel Maddow talking about the ways that Donald Trump has already started to position himself and not accepting the results of the upcoming election. The things he's already said, and we've heard a lot of them. But before I do that, if I could quickly just ask you to hit that subscribe button and join what we are building on this channel. It goes a long way, and I'd really appreciate it. Now let's get to Rachel Maddow.
But telling voters, do not bother to vote for me. It doesn't matter if you do. I don't need your votes. That is a thing that should prick up your ears. Because what that means is that he doesn't think he needs to win the vote to win the election. He doesn't think he needs to win the election in order to take power. He thinks something other than votes is going to determine whether or not he gets back in the White House. At Rolling Stone today, they profile 70 different election officials who have been put into position in the swing states of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, who are election denialists, committed election denialists. Officials that have been put in place in all of those swing states to make sure that election results, no matter what they are, do not get certified in those states this year. Quote, at least 22 of these election officials have already refused or delayed certification processes in recent elections. According to Democratic election lawyer Mark Elias, quote, I think we are going to see mass refusals to certify the election in November. Quote, Republicans are counting on not just that they can disrupt the election in big counties, they're counting on the fact that if they don't certify in several small counties, you can't certify statewide results. 70 officials in place across just the swing states. For all the surface level weird behavior and language and strange choices and incoherence and odd donors in the Republican campaign, the serious core at the heart of it is that they are not planning on the vote being counted as normal. They are not counting on the election results being tallied as normal. They are not counting on the vote. And in fact, Trump is now repeatedly saying the vote will not matter. He doesn't even want your vote. The Republicans are counting on the election results not being certified, thereby creating chaos in Washington around the results. Just like 2020, right? Just like January 6, 2021, except this time with no Mike Pence in the way and with Republican officials already in place in multiple states saying, yeah, you may not get any sort of official vote. The weirdness of this campaign is astonishing 99 days out. The dislocation from real campaigning, though, the dislocation from actually asking people for their votes, that means something. It means they are not trying to win this thing in a normal way. So 99 days out, as Democrats stand up what, by all accounts, looks like a juggernaut traditional campaign under Kamala Harris, are they prepared for this level of weirdness after the votes are cast? Are they ready for what's coming?
When Donald Trump knew that he had lost to Joe Biden after the 2020 election, and he knew he lost, he tried to win through illegal means. Let's call it that. It's what it was. Donald Trump was trying to commit crimes to stay in power. He was trying to push a false slate of electors in states like Michigan and Arizona and Nevada and Georgia and Wisconsin to nullify the votes of millions of Americans, to take their vote and their voice away. That's what Donald Trump was doing. It wasn't just the nightmare that was January 6th. It wasn't just that attack on our democracy. It wasn't just sending a violent mob to the Capitol. It wasn't just one day. Because when we think about it as just one day, it doesn't seem as premeditated as it really was. This was a long plan from Donald Trump and his stooges to attack our democracy, to try to strip our voices and our votes away. That was their plan. And so we have to view it and frame it that way because that's the thing that they're trying to do now. As Rachel Maddow talked about, Donald Trump isn't interested in votes as much as he's interested in winning in alternate ways because he knows he can't win. And at this point, it's incredibly clear to all of us that he can't win. Donald Trump, every time he opens his mouth, is putting voters off. He's pushing farther away his chances of winning that are getting slimmer and slimmer, which is incredible. But as Kamala Harris surges in every poll and every metric, it becomes more clear to Donald Trump that he can't win. And it becomes a lot clearer to his stooges that he can't win. And so their plan is not for him to win the votes, but to try to steal this election like he did last time. And that's what he did. He tried to steal it. He tried to take votes away from people. Millions of votes. When he called Brad Raffensperger, said, I just need a couple more votes. He wasn't asking for 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, 13,000. He wasn't asking for a couple thousand more votes. He was asking to nullify the millions of votes cast in Georgia, in Wisconsin, in Michigan. All of those votes combined, that's what he was asking to get rid of. He didn't want more. He wanted to get rid of all of those because he didn't want those people to have their voices heard. And that is what his plan is again. And we cannot let Republicans try to whitewash history to try to distract us from what's really going on here. Donald Trump wants to be an authoritarian, and he wants to get there through anti-democratic means. and we have to stop them, and we have to call them out. And I'm going to continue to call them out. And if you want to support that, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, you leave a like on this video. It really goes a long way in building the movement that is just over 1 month old on this channel, but already growing so incredibly fast because of your support, and it really means a lot. And until next time, I'll see you soon.